Well, I didn't think I'd ever be here. A Star Trek XP involving the Star Trek creative forces under the helm of Seth Macfarlane. But here we are. Macfarlane is actually a devoted fan of science fiction, as anyone who's seen his most famous work, Family Guy, can attest to, given its frequent Star Trek and Star Wars-inspired gags and episodes. Macfarlane wanted for years to bring Star Trek back to television in the optimistic style of the 90s, but acknowledged that no one was going to hand him the keys to the franchise. It just wasn't going to happen. Thus, in the tradition of Galaxy Quest, he's just gone out and made his own version. This is why the Orville is going to struggle as a comedy. I'll tell you that right out of the gate here. The Orville's approach to the pre-Enterprise era of Star Trek is with deep affection. It wants to wrap itself up in that like a blanket. The Orville itself is much like a classic Trek character, in that it has become unsure of its own identity. The first joke that actually made me laugh out loud didn't occur until episode 3, when the pilot had reprogrammed the holodeck in an old western so that instead of a gunfight, the villain wants a dance-off.
All right, I'll be back. Hey, while I'm gone, fix this thing, huh?
Okay, will do.
That's not to say that I thought nothing was funny before that, but rather belies the problem related to the Orville's struggling identity. It's not smart enough to be what it aspires to be, but it's also not stupid enough to lend itself well to comedy. I'm not attempting to damn the show out of the gate either, but rather to address what I think is important to accept, that the Orville's aspirations and Macfarlane's approach to comedy rarely intersect. Don't expect this to be Galaxy Quest the series, because while both are seated in a love of Star Trek, Galaxy Quest is in love with the phenomenon, while the Orville is in love with the mythology. There's more room for the former to mine for comedy than the latter, because humor often comes from the absurd. That's why I showed you that particular clip. A crew out of their depth because their actors offers more comedy options than a crew that is supposed to be at least somewhat competent at their work. Now, that's not to say that I'm criticizing the Orville for not being Galaxy Quest. I'm just trying to explain why the Orville's aspirations deliberately limit its comedic possibilities. So we begin in the 25th century, in New York, as Macfarlane's character, Ed Mercer, arrives home to meet his wife, Wonder Woman.
Oh no.
Yeah, now you get what I meant about high aspirations and Macfarlane's sense of comedy.
I've had some personal stuff that's been going on. It's not really worth going into. Can I have one of these mints?
Those are marbles.
Not to say that I'm too sophisticated for a sense of humor. Just to make this clear so people don't try reading anything in. I don't worship at the altar of Seth Macfarlane, but I also don't hate on him either. He's talented, but that doesn't mean everything he touches turns to gold. I'm betting there's going to be a lot of debate about this on the forum, because the biggest problem is that humor is one of the most subjective things that there is. So what is hit or miss is going to vary from person to person. Anyway, Mercer took the affair hard, got a divorce, and spent the last year torpedoing his own career with stumbling into work late and hungover and making a lot of bad decisions, like A Million Ways to Die in the West. But the Admiral says that they're going to give him one last chance with the Orville, whose captain just retired and they need warm bodies to fill chairs. So this is Mercer's big break. Well, Mercer seems to have decided if he's becoming captain, he's going all in. So he's bringing his old friend Gordon along as helmsman. So he picks him up from LARPing of World of Warcraft so that they can head to the ship.
Actually, what is that? Is that a beer?
Yeah.
You're drinking a beer?
Yeah, I'm nervous. It's a new ship. I want to make a good impression.
It's 9:15 in the morning.
It's breakfast time. You should be pouring that over Rice Krispies. Well, despite Joe Hazelwood's piloting, they managed to reach the Orville, and Captain Mercer can give the crew their pep talk and meet with his senior staff, like the Chief of Security, Alara.
Yes, sir.
You're Chilean, right?
I am, sir.
Yeah, that's great. I just want to be sure that your duties won't be interfered with by your paper route. There's also Lamar, the navigator, and Bordas, the second in command, who's a Moclan. Single gender like the Asari from Mass Effect, but all male. So, no fan service. We're going to talk about them at a later time, but right now we've got to talk about Penny Johnson Gerald, a face you're probably surprised to see here. I mean, I know I was. She, of course, was Cassidy Yates on DS9, and she's playing the ship's doctor here, Finn, meaning she's not only a regular, but she's one of the main characters. So that certainly does give some legitimacy to this. I mean, I know some people would say Brannon Braga provides legitimacy, to which I have to respond, priceless. Rounding out the crew is Isaac, who's an artificial life form from a planet of such beings, but who see themselves as being superior to biological life. But the funny thing about that is, there doesn't seem to be any malice behind it. They're not telling you that to hurt your feelings, but they're also not going to pretend that you're not inferior. That's their approach. You know, it's like visiting your doctor.
I wish I could give you something more exciting for your maiden voyage, but it's pretty straightforward. You'll be delivering supplies to the science station on Epsilon 2.
That's good, because Epsilon 3 is where Babylon 5 is, and I don't think that's a safe place to be right now. So Mercer's ready to head up to the bridge so the Admiral can get back to merging with his auto mechanic friend. Well, with that, the USS Orville has set off and is ready to engage its quantum drive, because in the future, everything's quantum. Things seem to be going well until Mercer learns who his new first officer is going to be.
Oh, no. Oh, crap. Sorry, man. You okay?
Yeah, it's all good, man. You okay?
Yeah, all good. Sorry.
All right, no worries.
New boss shows up and thinks he can walk all over you. Mercer's understandably in a snit because his new XO is his ex-wife. She's Kelly Grayson and has shown up for this awkward conversation. Let's take a moment to explore my second observation about the Orville. And let me be clear that I'm not trying to get down on the show. All I'm doing is sharing my observations about it. But when I watch the Orville, I get the distinct impression that we are watching the most expensive fan film in history. This is Seth MacFarlane getting the chance to be a starship captain, the same way that anyone else does when they dress up and film it in a garage or a rented storage space. He's just able to get Fox to pay for it. I say this because he's not an ideal choice for the Orville's leading man. MacFarlane's performance successes were in voice acting. The one film where he played the lead on camera, it was a dud. For a work that wants to skirt the line between comedy and serious science fiction, well, his resume just doesn't back that up. It's fairly obvious that he's here because it's his show, and fair enough, I'm not saying they screwed up with that move and he needs to quit. But as I watch this series unfold, what I see is MacFarlane looking to fulfill the dream of every Trekkie, to be the one in the captain's chair.
This ship is what I've been waiting for my entire career.
I don't doubt that for a second. So the bridge is a nice big pile of awkward as Mercer and Grayson take their stations to finish this cargo run. She's planning on transferring off as soon as there's another XO available, but in the meantime, well, he's stuck with her. Trying to force her off the ship would jeopardize his command. What with his history of being a grade A fuck-up and all that, to kick off an experienced officer just because he couldn't be professional, well, yeah, that's not gonna work. Besides, when you're a captain, you can give the XO all the petty jobs that you like. I mean, the captain's hat should basically say, "Licensed to be a douche." They arrive to make their delivery, but the scientist in charge of this respected outpost says the delivery request was a ruse. They actually need to talk in private about something serious. So they grab a shuttle to head down. There's no transporters here, which is a smart decision, since the transporter winds up necessitating all kinds of hocus pocus in order to justify not using it when it would solve their problems in like 5 seconds. If someone gets captured by the locals, you have to put a team together and get them down there to go in there and rescue them, as opposed to just going beep, 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 whoop, problem solved. Sorry, I didn't mean to be so technical there. Anyway, the doc shows them around a little bit.
Well, this is a redwood seed. Looks pretty ordinary, yes?
Sure.
Well, this seed has been genetically engineered with tardigrade DNA, which means
that it can make a ship teleport if you have enough mushrooms to go with it. But he's not here to show his awesome redwood tree can grow in anything, even without water. It's a toss-up whether its use of tardigrades or discoveries is more absurd, but the fact that Seth MacFarlane's show is even in the running should be damning. But he didn't bring Mercer down here to show him his mighty redwood, but rather this new device of theirs that greatly accelerates the passage of time. And while Mercer is a bit focused on how this can give him fodder to give his ex-wife shit, the others eventually get through to him that this is a game-changing invention. The potential is staggering. They mentioned crops to fight starvation, but anything that is self-growing could benefit from this. With enough energy, materials, and small robots, you could build whatever you want within the field within seconds. Just imagine dropping a bunch of robots onto an asteroid, surrounding it with a field, and speeding up time so that in moments, all of the usable elements would have been removed and are ready for transport. This could fundamentally change the way that construction happens. Unfortunately, that could also be used as a weapon, and that's the concern. The Krill, they're bad guys, would want it for that purpose, hence the need for a ship to try to protect it.
Put down that comm scanner, Captain.
And they're off to a great start. This guy is working with the Krill and shoves the poor scientist who invented this device into it, aging her to death, at the age of like 28. And meanwhile, I'm 44 and only touch salads to push them a safe distance away. I'm feeling kind of vindicated right now. In orbit, Bortus is in command when a Krill ship shows up, one considerably tougher looking than the Orville, which, let's be honest, it looks like a flash drive that you attach to your keychain. Alara manages to take out the agent, but landing parties are, landing. So they grab the device and decide to try to escape with the dock, while the Orville does its best to engage that warship, thanks in no small part to Gordon's master piloting skills. He may be a complete jackass, but he can get away with it if he can literally fly circles around the enemy. Alara shows her stuff too during the escape. The sign says pull to open. Her species has superhuman strength, see, and also... Or maybe she was just bitten by a radioactive cricket. She gets the shuttle ready so that they can make their daring and implausible escape, only to find a Krill is stowed away in the back. Not sure where he could have been hiding, but after the way that escape went, it's possible they traded their ability to aim in for the ability to hide in plain sight. Every time these guys shoot, it's like they make the worst stormtrooper in the world look like William Tell by comparison. That's why you stay seated until the ride comes to a complete stop. Thanks to Gordon's incredible piloting, he's able to avoid the Krill while also scooping up the shuttle, making him the most incredible helmsman in the fleet.
Well done, Lieutenant.
Sir, since I pulled that off, can I please wear shorts to work?
I've already said no.
But alas, despite the fancy piloting, the ship is in no condition to escape, and the Krill demand the device or be destroyed. The Orville, not them. Well, luckily Grayson has an idea. They hot glue one of those super redwood seeds to the device and set it to go to maximum setting once it's switched on, so that... This is a victory for both them and Treebeard. They have to put in for repairs after that mess, where Grayson says that she's found a new exo to replace her so that she won't bother Mercer anymore with her presence. But after that clever way of saving the day, he knows that that would be a mistake. So she stays on board. But then the surprise comes. Turns out, she'd pull some strings to help get Mercer his command. She got the admirals to be willing to at least give him a chance in the job. And this success, well, kind of as a success anyway, seems to justify that to them. But that means somebody has a secret. Like with Discovery, I'll be discussing more of the Orville in general at the end. But regarding the episode specifically, it has a lot it had to do, and it seems to do so shakily. Some of it works, and some of it is just trying too hard. At the same time, these are early days. The show is trying to feel itself out, and Star Trek itself had a history of rocky starts, so I don't think we should really rush to judgment here. We'll have to see how things continue to shake out when we get to Episode 2.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
So, it's an anti-banana ray.
It's really interesting.
We need no longer fear the banana.
Does it work on all fruit?
What about salads?